I am here with Deborah Cohen from Real Property Management. And I'm excited to talk about this brand. It's one of my, we're not supposed to have favorites, but it's one of my favorites. So welcome, Deb. How are you doing?
I'm good, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about real property management. It's something different to talk about, right? In the Neighborly family, it
My
tends to be
colleagues say
less.
we are the sexy brand.
Oh, okay. There you go. Definitely. Everybody checks real estate when I go through my boxes of what are you interested in. For today's video, we go a little bit deeper into the brand. Kind of, if you're interested from watching CC's franchise speed dating video, this is the one to kind of get into the weeds a little bit. And then from there, if you have questions, reach out and we will talk to you about these brands. So, okay, Deb, fill us in. Industry, we already kind of gave it away, but industry and then stats, key things people should know about real property management. Just start them off.
Real Property Management. We are the largest residential property management firm in North America. We have 465 franchises operating all over the country. Our
Wow.
sweet spot is the long-term residential space. We do have owners who are doing large multifamilies, commercial, HOAs, student housing, and some Airbnb, but that's really our sweet spot is really that single family, small multifamily, long-term residential. Fun facts about the industry right now, we're a renter's nation, Lisa. 35% of the US population is renting, and that's not going away. We expect it to continue. The housing market, homeownership when we first started franchising 2006 was at about 70%. It's now down to about 63, 64%. We expect it to stay flat or continue to decline, which obviously nets out so far about 7 million more renters, and that's a tremendous opportunity for our owners.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot to unpack right there. We could stop the video. You know what I mean? I have so many questions just on that. But so talk to me about, and I know you've said this multiple times as I've become educated on the brand. Why the focus on long-term rental? Because when you explain it to me, it makes total sense. So I would love to have you give us just a little bit of color there.
When I say that 35% of the US population is renting, if you think about it, that means if you walk down any given street in America, every third house potentially is a rental property. And that is certainly the case here in where I live in New York. Who's renting? Millennials. They've got student loan debt. They want to be more mobile. So they're renting. Some of them say 18.2% say they're going to rent their whole lifetime. Boomers are downsizing and renting. They don't want to deal with the maintenance on their properties. So all of this has created this renter's nation. And then on the flip side, because we serve investors, we serve who we call intentional investors, and they own 2 to 20 rental properties. During the housing crisis, they said, I'm taking my money out of the market and I'm going to start parking it in real estate. And now they own portfolios of 2 to 20 rental properties all over the country. So because Real Property Management has that national footprint, we can service all of their property management needs coast to coast. So we're serving both customers.
All right, so interesting. So talk about that. We're talking about the problems that you solve for real property management. So talk about the fact of what you just said, like we were serving both of those customers. I love the investor
Sure.
education part is always interesting.
I'm an investor. I have a property. My property may be in Colorado. I live in New Jersey. I want to make sure that property is cared for. At RPM, what we do is we align ourselves with investors. We don't just say, oh, we'll get you a resident and walk away. We really align ourselves with investors on maximizing the ROI on those properties. Quarterly inspections, keeping an eye on the property, looking for the best residents, making sure those residents, are pre-vetted, all of those full service property management needs. And of course, being part of Neighborly, taking care of properties, you need a plumber, you can call a Mr. Rooter. You need an electrician, you can call a Mr. Electric. So we're in a very advantageous position, obviously being part of Neighborly as well.
All right, very cool. So talk about, I guess we kind of did, but a little bit around the day of the life of the owner, because this isn't a small business. I mean, there's some pretty numbers that we're going to talk about in a second. So what is that owner doing consistently to be successful?
So it's a relationship building business, first of all. But in the early days, first thing they're doing is going out and talking to investors about using their services. And we have a whole real sales training program for that. So they're well versed. Once they have properties to manage, they're advertising vacancies, screening residents, collecting rent. They're also responsible for trust accounting, the money you're holding in escrow for owners and residents, and we do that for them. And inspections and coordinating maintenance. And a lot of these things are automated. And the beauty of Real Property Management is we are cultivating CEOs of property management companies, not property managers. We'll train them in property management. We scale the business so that the majority of our owners can step away and become executive owners. But those are the day-to-day functions to start.
All right, very good. Thank you. So talk a little bit about who you're looking for in a franchisee then. Who is your avatar out there?
Well, that's always a difficult question to answer because our top owners, our two top owners, one was a high school teacher and one was a golf pro, and they're managing upwards of 4,000 doors very successfully.
Okay.
But I would say the key characteristic is that person who's willing to get out in the community and network and communicate. Okay. Sales experience is a plus. They don't have to have real estate experience, but I would say the commonality is all of our owners have some interest in real estate, whether they've wanted to invest, they have invested, but our best candidates are those people who are going out in the community and building relationships.
And this is a full-time gig. This isn't a part-time, everyone's throwing around the word semi-absent owner. And in this, this is not a negotiable subject, right? You've got to be eyes and ears in the business right now.
Absolutely to start, but we have a lot of owners who are executive owners. One of my owners owns 3 locations, and every time I call him, he's at his house in Mexico.
Okay.
Every time. So yes, you can grow to be semi-absentee, but out of the gate, we want you full-time.
Okay, so talk a little bit about the item 7. For those of you that are watching, item 7, that FDD, we've talked about this, 23 items, lawyers talking to lawyers. The item 7 is going to break down the initial cost and investment to get into the business. And so a lot of times when we first start talking, you're going to get a ballpark range, and the details of what that range is to get into the business are in the item 7. So we're just not going to get deep in the details, but we are going to talk about what are the largest portions of the initial investment. What are they paying for upfront? Like, we don't care too much about the computers and software and things like that.
Well, that's the other beauty of this business. Very low overhead. You don't have techs, you don't have trucks. You're starting out with a small office space and your marketing budget. Those are the 2 biggest expenses.
Wow.
Our item 7 range from 91 to about 200. We have new FDD, so 234,000. That 234,000, Lisa, is a full year of expenses, plus if at a certain point you hire an employee.
Okay.
So that's the range, but it's essentially your marketing budget and a small office space. It's not home-based.
I will say we're probably going to put a little asterisk for this. I love that. So I love, personally, Lisa Welko, in my humble opinion, put 12 months in there. Like, come on, let us know. Like, never in the history of ever has 3 months been enough money.
Ever.
So give us what that runway actually looks like. So yay neighborly, yay real property management. So anyway, so now let's talk about the other item that is always where our eyes go within the first month anyway, that item 19. Guys, for this part, the item 19 is the spot where a brand can talk about the historical revenue of other franchisees in the system. And every brand, depending on the industry and the brand, is going to give you a different not a different number. It's usually going to be gross revenue at the top, but they're going to give you a different lens to look at the item 19 through. And so always keep in mind that you want to get the actual FDD before you start making decisions on, is this revenue going to support us? But anyway, with that little side note, Deb, thank you. What does the item 19 for real property management look like?
Well, happy you asked. It's a very good one. Very proud of our brand. Our item 19 shows that our owners, on average, system-wide, are managing 270 doors. On a door, for example, single family is 1 door, the duplex would be 2. So 270 doors, average revenue per unit, $4,743 per door.
Per door? I'm gonna do the math there.
Yeah, 1.28-ish, if you do the math.
Nice.
But I want to say, this is such a scalable business, Lisa. I have owners successful and profitable at 100 doors, and I have owners successful and profitable at over 4,000 doors.
Okay.
And 26% of our owners own multiple locations, which I think is the greatest testament to our brand.
Wow, that's amazing. Good numbers. All right, so talk a little bit. I mean, I always like to tell everybody, it's not all unicorns jumping over rainbows. There's going to be, this is a business, people. Let's be realistic, right? So what are the misconceptions that might have someone say, oh no, I don't want to do property management? Like, what is that kind of that you want to say, no, get past that?
I think people think that there are too many people doing it. Like, they'll say, there's so many property management companies in my town. There's about 83,000 property management companies out there. Large majority, mom and pop shops, independents, real estate agents who are operating out of the back of their truck or car and couldn't sell a property, so they say, I'll manage it for you. We're not that. We blow them out of the water. This is a much more sophisticated business model. So I hear that. And then also, it's the ramp. People are afraid of that ramp up. The beginning when the phone doesn't ring, and no business comes with just sit back and we're going to deliver you customers. But I will say that after you start getting those first doors under management, it's not only the recurring revenue, it's a recurring customer base. Because as I mentioned, investors own multiple properties. So I think if people can get their head around the ramp and the fact that, there's people out there doing it, but they're not doing it like real property management.
Okay, very good. Like when you talk about the ramp, you can go back to the fact that your item 7 talks about the fact that we're giving you what to have in mind for a year.
Yes.
Okay, now come on. How many doors can you get? Not in a month, not in the first 2 months, in a year. That's, I think, something that,
And that's taking into consideration that you're hiring staff. What I hear from my owners, again, it's not in our FDD, but break even is at about 30 to 40 doors. And that's an attainable goal. And one thing I can say about real property management, we give you the support, tools, training, technology, coaching, you name it, to get this business off the ground. We've done it 465 times. And we take great pride in our success and our owners. Phenomenal validators, phenomenal family of owners.
That is it. Like right there, I think like mic drop, end of video, right? Like, well, we've done it 464 times. I'm pretty sure we can do it for you.
The other thing I forgot to mention is some of the pushback I get is people say, oh, you have to get a real estate license for this business and you have to have an office. So one, yes, you do have to have a real estate license, but we build in time for that. And the reason is because to show somebody else's property, you have to have a license. And the office lends itself obviously to being more professional, but also the SEO value. People don't realize 60% of investors find you online. So you need that SEO value. That's also a little bit of the pushback I get. Why can't I just operate from my home office?
Right. Like technically you can, but
you could.
You have to have an office with an address, right?
Correct.
And it's not because you need to be at that office with the address, sorry, not to speak outside the FDD, but you need that address for the Google people and the Google crawlers to find your business. How do people find a business? They don't have the yellow pages anymore. What do? They Google it.
100%.
Right? Or they chat GPT it, which is almost, right? So absolutely. And I think too, around that real estate license, I'll get that sometimes for the people that I work with. And I'm like, I sat in a class for 2 weeks and took a test and got my real estate license. I determined I would be a not very good realtor, but it wasn't necessarily a hard thing. And I know it's different from state to state, but and if you're going to be a property management, you should probably know a little bit about the laws around real estate.
And many of our owners invest in real estate alongside the franchise. And oftentimes an investor will come to them and say, hey, Lisa, if you see a property similar to what's performing well in my portfolio, or I need to offload this property, can you help me? And that's something really interesting that I would share in this conversation with you. Real property management differentiates ourselves on a variety of different levels. But one thing we have is our Wealth Optimizer tool. It's a proprietary modeling tool. An investor anywhere in the country can come to Lisa Welko's RPM website, get an ROI comparison on 3 properties they're considering investing in. That's fed to the owner, to you as a lead, so you can pick up the phone and say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, I see you're looking at these properties. Let me talk to you about what's going on in the market. The next rollout of Wealth Optimizer is we're creating an internal brokerage, because we've got 43,000 investors nationwide. And when any one of them want to buy or sell a property, we want to keep them in the family.
Wow, that's a good one. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please reach out. I can get you. I've got Deb on speed dial. I promise. I can get you to the front of the line. Thank you for watching. If you're ready to take the next step, Integrity Franchise Group is here to help. Click the link below or reach out to us today to schedule an appointment. Let's work together to solve that franchise puzzle and turn your business dreams into reality. We cannot wait to connect with you.